You're locked in to another episode of Blocks to Bags, your weekly show for everything tech, entrepreneurship, creator, and investing. Today, we've got a special episode. We're interviewing a really, really cool entrepreneur who's moved from Southeast London to Scotland and in the space of 10 years has built wealth for him and his family, and they've changed their lives. Can everyone please welcome Khalid to the episode?
Hey, thank you. How's it going, guys? Pleasure being here.
It's going good. And also, if you lot didn't notice, we got one of my other co-hosts, Micky, right here on the Blocks to Bag. You know what I'm saying?
Making my debut as a host of the main Blocks to Bag show.
And we were just talking about how we've known each other for such a long time and how much of a surreal sort of moment this was for you, right?
So when we were like sorting out the mics, I felt a bit taken aback because we've known each other for a very long time, come from a very cool and interesting place, and to be sat here recording a podcast with two very close friends of mine about 15 years into the future is pretty cool.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's very, very cool. It's
from
very
the block to here, bro.
Yeah, from the blocks to the bags, 15 years deep.
I was in the north of Scotland this morning, fella.
Exactly.
We're in Scotland, by the way.
So I live in Murrayshire in a place called Elgin.
It's not even like Edinburgh, Glasgow type thing.
It's
Scotland, bro.
He's on the tip. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Like,
tip. Up in Murray. It's essentially, there's a trunk road that runs through the northeast of Scotland from Inverness to Aberdeen, the A96, and Murray is the biggest town in between the two.
How big is big? What? Give us like, how many people are we talking?
It wouldn't. I'm calling it a town. It has official city status because there's a cathedral ruins, so it technically is a city, but it's a town. Yeah, absolutely is a town.
And essentially, just to go into your story, the business that you and your family own is called Pino Pizza.
Yeah.
Give us the lowdown of the business. Tell us about the bag, and then we'll go more into the kind of journey.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to take too much credit away from the pioneers, so I'll give you a brief history. My uncle's been up in the northeast of Scotland since the late 80s, I want to say, and he's had a shop there since 1996.
Damn.
So he's a bit of a community legend. Big up Uncle Sharif. We love you. He was there since 96. My dad, Big G, top man,
Uncle
superstar.
Mus,
Uncle Mus, the big one and only. But yeah, Pops, he had a lot of cafes and various businesses in London.
I remember.
You remember.
Where were the kind of cafes?
So we were primarily in train stations, operating like the best ones that I remember fondly. East Croydon train station, London Blackfriars pre-refurb, otherwise we'd still have it. And Blackheath as well, which is a great commuting area.
Yeah.
Okay. My sister was getting to the sort of age where she would be approaching secondary school. My dad wasn't liking the direction London was going in.
Rightly so. South East London, it was techie, right? It was techie growing up.
Challenging time.
And it was clearly for the best because big up little sis, she's going to study law next month. So
Come on.
Big up your little sis.
Come on too, baby.
Lawyer, we got a lawyer from the block now.
Yeah, so really, uncle's the pioneer, dad's the pioneer. They linked up. They'd known each other for many, many years, cousins. And they linked up. They decided to open a second shop in Elgin. My uncle's first one was in Lossiemouth, which is a beautiful place.
Okay.
And fast forward to now, I had the privilege and the blessing of being allowed into the business and allowed a lot of freedom to grow and learn.
Love that.
Was harsh. Wouldn't say anything was handed to me.
No.
Deep learning curve, yeah.
I was cheeky to my uncle, cheeky to my dad, and they both fired me at separate times.
Oh, so you've been fired?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a Steve Jobs situation from Apple, yeah.
We weren't always adults, you know. We were idiots at one point, young, a bit too cocky, and got put in my place.
That's good though.
Absolutely.
I love that though, because you know what? Yeah, a lot of the times, especially within our background, right, we're all migrants or kids of migrants. And I feel like in our background, you don't have that like dissociation between business and family, innit? Like,
yes, a lot of
the time, your kid is
family business is
screwing up. You still gotta but the fact that that's
man.
big, that's an important thing, Respect.
Come
on,
it's good. It was the greatest thing ever. Now I've been running the shop. Took control of the reins about 4 or 5 years ago.
Amazing.
A bit longer than that actually, about 6 years ago. Just trying to capitalize on the local reputation it has. Trying to modernize it a bit. We've also got a couple other projects we're cooking up with separately, me and my father. It's fruitful up there. It's good.
Yeah. So tell us about the business climate, the shop. What does it kind of sell? What kind of food does it sell?
Yeah. So it's
how was business when you first started versus now? Your 10. Did you say you're celebrating your 10-year anniversary? Or 15?
Elgin's actually been open for originally opened since 2012.
Got it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
over 11
Obviously,
years now.
it's under different ownership now because it's me.
Yeah.
But originally debuted in 2012. My uncle had a shop since 1996.
Okay.
A shop that was so popular that it closed before I moved to Scotland. So it must have been 2012, and people still refer to his shop as that name.
Wow.
Even though that shop closed over a decade
okay.
ago. So it's like quite a
Legacy
local legend.
right there.
He's had the one he's got now since about 2010.
Love that.
But it was literally just moved up the road.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
soul of the business is essentially the same thing through
Okay.
and through.
So
The people in it.
you said
Yeah,
you've been running
absolutely.
your shop for 4 to 5 years. Tell us about it. What is it like running? Would you consider it a takeaway? Or
Absolutely,
Okay,
and
cool.
proudly. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. I think what distinguishes us from the rest is that we buy restaurant grade ingredients and we run it akin to a restaurant in terms of the way we treat hygiene, the way we have our cleaning is very strict, staff training, just things like that. We run it more like that, but it's definitely takeaway food. A lot
Like,
of
what
challenges.
kind of food, by the way?
Oh,
Like,
What's
sorry,
on the menu? Give us the menu. Give us
What's the best seller, bro?
So the shop is called Pino Pizza. I'm actually thinking about rebranding that a little bit because I feel there's more than just pizza to us.
Saying Khalid
But-
Pizza or what?
To be honest,
Pizza and more, bro.
I just
Pizza and
wanna-
more.
I just want to embrace the nickname the locals call. It's just Pinos.
Peanuts.
Okay, I like that.
We love it.
I
We
like
love
that.
it. Yeah, come on.
But we
Nice
sell
simplification.
pizzas, pastas, calzones. My uncle pioneered this thing called a bursa, which is a must try if you're anywhere in the vicinity of the northeast of Scotland. Pino Pizza, get a bursa. You will not be disappointed.
I've tried it. It's banging.
Banging, yeah.
It's banging.
First of all, can I just make a comment that,
Yeah.
okay, what, you're Moroccan, Caribbean mix, right?
And English.
And
yeah.
English mix,
Yes,
yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
And you man are selling Italian food in Scotland. Bro, only in the UK. You've got to love it.
we also sell doner meat. So
Come on, there you go.
Doner
There's a
meat.
little
Come on,
Turkish
got
in
it.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, you know how it goes.
Okay.
Who told you Scotland is not multicultural?
Yeah. Morocco. So biologically, quarter English, quarter Jamaican, half Moroccan.
Yeah.
My mum, bless her, is much more English than she's Jamaican. So I don't try and cling on to that culture because I don't want
Yeah, fair
to.
enough.
You get me?
Alright.
But proud of my heritage.
Yeah, of
But
course.
predominantly Moroccan, bro. Fluent in
Yeah,
Arabic.
we've seen
Yeah.
you. We've seen you. We've
You
seen you
know,
out there.
you know,
You're going.
you
You're
know.
going Morocco.
Yeah,
in
also
the
very proud of
process
my
as
English
well.
heritage as well. So I love it all, you
that.
know. Big up all three nationalities.
Come on.
Love that.
Proper.
So
Alright, so, like, before we even talk about the details of the business, right? Because I
Yes.
feel like there's a lot to get in there,
there
right?
is.
But honestly, like, when you left there, like, I mean, we've all known each other for how long
Yeah.
now?
Quite a long time.
When you left, it was a matter.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
mad,
that
right?
was
Like,
sad,
like,
yeah.
what, kids get shipped off to Africa.
I'm not gonna
To
lie.
what?
Funnily enough, Mickey has witnessed both
Yes.
shipments in it. So
I was there when you got shipped.
So I knew him
was
in
there when he
primary
came
school.
back. I was
So
like, damn.
when I came back from Kenya, I ended up becoming friends with Khalid as
Yeah,
well, who's one
first
of
day
the
of school.
literally during secondary school. So and then when we finished college and whatnot,
Yeah.
around the time we were like 18 or so,
Yes.
you had a decision to make, right?
Indeed.
Your father, your family had potentially looked at moving to Scotland. He actually gave you the option to stay here, right, or move to Scotland. What made you? What was that process like? You're a young man, southeast of England, London. What's the mindset? What's the mindset?
To put myself back in 2000, let's say 2012 is when the idea emerged. To put myself back there, I was absolutely never moving to Scotland. My whole mentality was, London's the best place in the
SE1,
world.
brap, brap.
SE1,
Come on.
nothing
Bermondsey
better.
boys.
The block boys.
My dad, as I said, not shy of giving me harsh ultimatums and laying down the law. He just blatantly said, "You're 18. You can do what you want. I'm moving to Scotland. You can't afford to rent the flat that I'm going to leave behind. So sort your own accommodation, or you're welcome to move to Scotland with me and work with me." I was like, no way. I was like, what? I was like, man, the questions I was asking, I cringed back thinking, bro. I was asking, do they have Wi-Fi? Do they have
No, it's a fair
Tesco?
question.
That's a
It's a
legit
fair
question.
question.
Because bro, he's telling me
There's
the
a lot of men
postcode.
from
I'm
the
looking on the
block
map, bro.
No, but you
you know when the weather comes on the news, yeah, bro,
Yeah.
and your eyes are trained to look at London. You might have a little peek at Manchester, and if you're curious, Glasgow. Brother, I'd never looked at the part of the map where I live in my life, bro.
No, never.
All now, I remember sitting in one of our friend Danny's house, putting it in the laptop and seeing where it was, and just being like bamboozled. But fast forward to now, it was the best decision I ever made.
Why?
Because it broke down so many, it took away so much ignorance you have that I feel like we get growing up in London, and just young age as well. I won't blame the city. opens your mind, teaches you a whole different way of living, forces you to respect a culture that, to begin with, you're confused by. You may disagree with some elements of it. Mm-hmm. You may think certain elements of it are cold and not as friendly. Looking at it now, I would say it's the friendliest place in the UK I've been. Mm-hmm. Wow. It's one of the most genuine places. Like, I've been there, so a lot of my mates, if they're going to see this, they're going to be like, yo, talking lies, because I feel like so much like a local, I complain a lot. You know, when you feel at home somewhere, you feel like you have the right to complain about how it is.
Yeah.
But if someone else was to start talking bad about it, I'd be a bit defensive. You know? Amazing place. Had to get out of London. Decided after a year of battling with my dad that I wasn't going to be able to afford living in London. This was 2012.
Okay.
18. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to uni or anything. I was just working.
Yeah.
So I came up to Scotland. And then just began the journey, man. Worked my way up.
And so, at that age, right? So my parents own a restaurant too. Like that. Like we both grew up in that kind of environment. Mm-hmm. There was never a time for me, for instance, like when I was young, where I thought I would take over the business, or that would be the area I would go into. Right? When you were like 18 or even younger and stuff, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you were older? And did you ever think that this could be an area that you would be
Absolutely.
into?
I'm sure Seb will remember, but I don't really, for lack of a better word, I don't idolize people. Mm-hmm. There's not many people I look up to. I seek inspiration from a lot of people, of course, but I don't idolize anyone. I'm Muslim, so maybe that's something to do with it. Yeah. But my dad is the closest thing to an idol in my life. He, for me, is the ultimate person. If I can be 25% as good as he is, mm-hmm. I've made it in life, in my opinion. So I knew from when I was a kid that I wanted to be like my dad. Bro, like, I'm seeing the guy, he's working super hard, but like, he doesn't answer to anyone. He goes on holiday whenever he wants. Like, he's the man. I'm looking like, I want to be the man. So he gave me my first job when I was 11 or 12 in London, Blackfriars train station, platform 1. A little kiosk there. He used to drop me there on a Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. This must have been 2006. Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. He'd tell me, you're not allowed to make any hot drinks. You're too young because I've got a burn here already. Long story short, within like 6 months, I was making coffees. Within a year, by the time I was 13 or 14, he was leaving me alone for the Sunday shift. Not going too far, but he would like go for a walk around Blackfriars, get a coffee, whatever. Probably standing across the platform watching me, and I didn't even notice, you know? Then just started learning from there, and then got my first key to one of our cafes when I was 16. You'll remember that?
Yeah. I remember that. I mean, talking about side hustle philosophy at Blocks to Bags, Kay was really mashing work on the weekends, waking up. Us man was sleeping. He was waking up early, trying to go to the shops.
I was in the restaurant too, bro.
Mickey said, "Speak for yourself,
bro." I was there making the tea.
You're lying,
bro. I was there making the teas and the bacon baps too, bro.
I was sleeping.
Yeah, there you go.
And that but. I remember sometimes we'd actually go to the shop with you. It's not an easy hustle.
No, it felt easy because of the way I was trained to approach, but it was a battle, you know. And you're getting up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. You know, you've got a Moroccan dad who you feel like when you're young, you're working super hard and he's being super harsh. Now I'm an adult, I'm realizing, bro, I was being lazy and maybe cutting corners, and it's like business is unforgiving, so I'm going to be unforgiving is the premise of what he was trying to teach me, which is great. But man, I was at one point, I was in college. Yeah. Man, I weren't too good at college. I was failing my exams. I knew it was going to happen, but I was maintaining a job at Blue Ink in Lewisham Shopping Centre, and I was working in the cafe as well. So on a Sunday, honestly, for 6 months when I was 17, going through 18, every Sunday I'd wake up about 6, I think, give or take an hour, get to the cafe an hour later, open, work till 10:30, then one of my colleagues would come take over. Then I'd go start at the clothes shop at 11, work there till about 7 or 8 p.m, finish there and go to my other job and close.
That's mad, you know.
And like, looking back, it's like, yes, a lot, but honestly, at the time, I just felt like the man, bro. Like, showing up to work and like, people are upset they're working on Sunday. I'm like, bro, I was at work 3 hours ago, bro. Like, this is my second job today, and I'm going back to work later. I've always had that pride in it. Like,
I love that.
And do you think that's because of like the example your dad set?
Absolutely.
I feel like that's a big part, and for sure. And Seb, you and I have talked about this. Your mom's the same. My parents are the same. I feel like
work ethic.
Being a migrant has got
bro.
Like a lot of the times, right? When people talk about being migrants, it's like it's in such negative connotations.
Yeah, 100%.
Like one of the biggest things I respect about my parents, right, and your dad and your parents too, right, is Honestly, I can't do what they did, right? Think about it like nowadays, right? Imagine moving to a country that you probably didn't speak the language of. They didn't have internet in that, 25 years ago like this, you know? You didn't know, like, you weren't going, oh, let me see what's the weather like there and what's going on. And, bro, you literally go, and I remember, like, I moved here when I was 9, so I remember as well, like, how difficult it was, right? And that, like, migrant mentality is amazing because to not just be moving to London or whatever, but then to go to somewhere like Scotland, right, where, look, let's be frank, it's the diversity in a small town like that is not going to be substantial. No. We live in a world where you have growing kind of divisiveness. You're a Muslim man, you're a dark coloured man, right, and you're moving into this area. That's a big risk to take, you know. And I think like that's like one of the biggest things. I think like migrants just are not respected for that like just willingness to go and be like, yo, that's my hustle and I'm gonna do it. And you know, they put themselves into these ridiculous situations.
It's inspiring.
Man. It's so inspiring.
Yeah. It's inspiring. I think when I look at it, I see a key difference I notice in our parents and us and our approach to life. And I'm not saying we don't have it, but they just tapped into a level of resilience I don't think exists anymore.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about it.
And the reason I say it doesn't exist anymore is because, I'm not trying to be too harsh on today's world, but there's sort of a backup or a safety net for everything. Everyone's protected. Offense is limited. Whereas they were living in a brash world. I mean, like, bro, we have parents that, like, the things that we think are offensive now, I've got very thick skin, as do you two. I know that. Like, but bro, they were like going to work and being literally treated like second-class citizens. And they had to put that to the side and focus on the money. And
they didn't even have the language to be able to express it. Bro, like, imagine, we can say stuff like, that's, abuse.
Exactly.
Bro, that
language didn't even exist.
It absolutely.
What are you talking about?
And it's like, it's crazy, the way they just didn't care.
But I love that point that you made, right, about the resilience bit, right? And I completely agree with you. But I guess when I look at my parents, right, they've got a really successful business, and the resilience part is incredible to me. I mean, last 20 years that they've had it, they might have like 5-6 days break in a year.
Mad.
In a year, right? That's like the tops. Like the last year, they started taking a bit more time off. But for 20-something years, that's how it was. You know, I don't know that people went on family holidays, right? These weren't things. I don't feel like I missed out, by the way. That's not the point. That's just how hard my parents were working. But equally with the resilience, right? One thing that I feel like I see with them is they value hard work so much. Sometimes it can be a bit of a barrier for growth for them, right? Because, for instance, right, like, my mums would be like, you know what, why am I going to pay someone £10 an hour to clean the floor, to sweep the floor? I'm going to do it myself because, you know, we're broke. We're trying to
stack that bread. We're trying to stack that bread, yeah?
And, you know, like, and so stuff like that, like, I think nowadays, you know, when we're getting older, and myself at least, I feel like part of growing a business is being able to, you know, hire the right people and outsource the right way, right? But sometimes I don't think they realize that. My parents. Do you see that with your dad? And
so I see it in other family members, not so much my dad. Seb will tell you, he's really modern. So he immigrated over when he was 18 or 19. But because my city in Morocco, that I'm from, Arbitrage, big up, a lot of people migrated in the 60s to work in factories. So he already had uncles and aunties in the UK. And he went to uni in Morocco and college, got his baccalaureate, got a degree. And he done biology and maths. So when he moved over, he had a level of English. So I think his journey is unique in the sense that, like, bro, Moroccans are sort of known for this anyway. But bro, you gotta understand, I was conceived in 1993, born in 1994, and to an English Jamaican mother.
Yeah.
Mad.
And like, yeah, and my mum and dad met in Peckham, bro, at Jamaican parties. Through my dad's cousin.
Peckham Lobster, come on.
You would think all my love of reggae music comes from my Jamaican side. It's all from my Moroccan side.
Peckham is the original Tinder.
Peckham's
the original Tinder, fam.
Trust me.
Come on.
So he's always, like, I've always been pretty astounded by how modern his outlook on life is. Where sometimes I'm like a caveman when I speak next to him. It's that level of like, even like, just his approach to everything, man, is pretty modern. So, but I absolutely agree with you. There's always that element, like, bro, at the end of the day, he still is an immigrant from Morocco, bro. Like, I've like, you know how like, if there's a component in your business that is key to the business. So, for example, this is a podcast, cameras. And, you know, if one of your cameras was repeatedly playing up, you'd probably invest in a new camera before it broke. But you know what the migrant mentality is? Until it's broke and you show up to record and you can't record, oh, get a camera, get this. So it's like, there's always that battle. So, yeah, man, there was always that battle of understanding that we don't want to waste money because it's traditionally hard to come by. May seem easy in times of life, but I always live with the mentality that it's a limited resource. And as much as it's an unlimited resource, it's a limited resource. And we have limited time to access it. So there is that battle of like trying to get them to just do what you want. Like the thing you said about why would I pay someone £10 to clean it? We're trying to flip their mentality to, because if you free up that time you're going to clean, you can make more than £10.
Exactly.
And that will pay for the cleaner and other things.
You are the person with the knowledge, so that's scalable.
Exactly.
Beautiful. But, all right, one other question I've just been thinking about, right, is how do you do that though, right? Like, one of the things that I personally find difficult with my parents is convincing them of some of these things, right? Like, like I said, they've got a successful business, but I want them to work less and I want them to work more in terms of like strategically rather than on physical labor. Exactly. And about scaling the business, right? But personally, I haven't been very successful at convincing them of that, right? So say from your experience of someone who's kind of been doing this with your dad, how do you kind of balance the respect for your dad, but also trying to modernize things and improve stuff?
So yeah, it is a battle. There is that definite element of respect, bro. Again, bro, Muslim, Arab influenced, Moroccan father, bro. Like, brother, you say good morning in the wrong accent and it can be perceived as disrespect. You know what I mean?
Come on, we've been there.
We've all been there, do you know what I mean? So, let alone trying to tell a man is wrong or this or that. But I'm very grateful to have a dad who, of course, we clash heads and he's gonna be like, shut up, I'm your dad, I'm right. But bro, genuinely, 95% of the times where I feel like I've genuinely been right, he's turned around and says, you know what, you're right on that. And I respect him greatly for that, because a lot of people probably just stand on their pride or whatever. But a good example for the hard work and the time off will probably be, the greatest example of it is seeing my dad move to Scotland and my little sister be born and him slow down a lot. And then as a result of that, he's like having that battle with my uncle. My uncle, like, whereas my dad has tried and failed in many, many businesses. So he knows what it's like to make a loss and bounce back. It's fine, it's normal for him. My uncle, God bless and long may it continue, alhamdulillah, hasn't failed. Like, don't get me wrong, he's had a lot of trials and tribulations. I'm not saying it's been easy.
No big L's.
But thankfully, his first shot was a success and his second shot was a success. So it's well-deserved. It's built on a foundation of hard work. But I think because he's never had it slip, he's holding on tight. So my uncle will still go to work and stand there and cook the food and be seen. And it's got a million positives. I don't really have any negatives to say of that. But at the end of the day, here's a man who's been working for like 30-something odd years. He needs to relax. And my dad sort of stresses the importance of him, you know, like, you need to slow down a bit. Let the guys do this. You know what I mean? It's an interesting battle, but it can be won. I think for anyone out there struggling to get points across to your parents, immigrant parents, migrant parents, even British parents, but parents are parents, two best advice I can give you. The first is always let them feel like they're right even when they're wrong, because they need to think they're right. They don't need you to tell them they're right. And the second thing that I live by is pick your timing. If you know your dad's a happy man after he's had food, bro, give the man some food. Get him that beverage after his meal. And
give that big piece of meat, bro.
Do you want to invest this little money in this? Or do you want to do this and this? And you'll get the answers you want.
I love that. So, question. We've talked about the migrant sort of work ethic, our parents coming to this country. Now I want to talk about wealth, building wealth and intergenerational wealth. Yes. Because here's like a good example. Actually, all of us are a good example. We all own properties. We've all gone and done well. for you've moved to Scotland. I've been up there. I've seen the yard that your dad has, your family home. You've also got your own sort of house as well. You've all got cars. I seen you rolling around in the Range Rover SVR.
It's not the SVR, the sport. Sorry, autobiography sport. The SVR Soonland.
Soonland, yeah, that's you, yeah. That's your.
That's not my car. No, that's my gold car. That's coming, bro.
So
that's coming. Me and Nate talk about that.
What I wanted to talk about was how has it been like building wealth in Scotland versus London? Because it seems like the quality of life is like so much more different there. Like, what are the differences? What's the difference between hustling in London? Because you've done it both.
Yes.
You and your dad, you've done it both in London. You're doing it in Scotland, but it seems Scotland has paid so much more dividends when I'm talking about peace of mind and just life and quality of life. So what is wealth like in Scotland versus London? And like, talk to us about that kind of journey.
Yeah, so, all right, to keep it anecdotal, I'll start close to us. It's a great place to recycle ideas. So the biggest advantage I have as a Londoner is being able to come and visit my lovely friends like you guys back home, go on a day out with you guys, see the latest food spots, dessert spots, how even this studio and how that's set up, loads of different things. I get to go to where I live, which, no disrespect to the people living there, my peoples, you'll all agree with me. It's about 15 years behind the times. You know, supply and demand dictates that, not the people. So you can take a concept that's been proven here for the last 5 years, open it there, it's a surefire win. That's it. You just recycle old ideas. Absolutely innovate if you're an innovator. Be original if you want to be original. But if you're just purely about chasing the bag, like me, recycle the ideas.
I think that's actually such an underrated point, no, right? Because first of all, I'm gonna pull you up because what you're doing is innovation, bro. Like, at the end of the day, like, there are two types of innovation. You can go from 0 to 1, right? Or you could be like, this works here, this doesn't exist, I'm gonna make the bag through arbitrage.
Yes, that's the
and
arbitrage.
That's like the biggest and long-term, the most fruitful innovation in human history. That's what we all have. That's how our economies are built, right?
That. Absolutely.
Right. So you get something from somewhere and you take it to somewhere it doesn't exist, and you make the difference. Absolutely. And that's like never underestimate the power of that kind of thinking, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. Especially like where I live, we see it all the time, man. Anything that opens is a big deal. God. I remember moving up there 10 years ago, and you can Google, there's still news was online that I can show you after we finish recording, of the road being so busy because they opened a KFC. They opened a KFC in Elgin, 2014, and the trunk road that I said, the A96 that we're along, that road got chock-a-block. Chock-a-block.
Let's open any top 10 in Scotland. Come on.
But yeah, no, so Scotland, to be honest, man, I just feel like, specifically where I live in the northeast of Scotland, it's my favourite place in the country. London is home, it's my favourite place in the world. But in terms of the UK, from things like to go away from business for 30 seconds, just the landscapes. Man, if you have a day in London where business doesn't do so great, you're going to feel rubbish. Man, up there you might not have the most fruitful of days, but drive 5 minutes. You're in the most beautiful landscape, picturesque, watch the sunset, it's all gone. Recalibrate, go ahead the next day. But making money and business there, everything is so much cheaper. That's an obvious one. There's so much wealth there that we don't know about.
Really?
Oh, unbelievable. So things that I learned moving up there, bro. So when I moved up there, there was no JD Sports in the town. And I thought everyone, like, I would look at, say like a 50-year-old man in a tractor, and I wouldn't think anything of him in that sense, but I wouldn't particularly think anything of him, you know? That's a dude driving a tractor. Now, because of what I know about agriculture, now I'm looking at the way they flex. So when Sebuh came to visit me, I explained this to him. So now you'll see a tractor pull up, and now you're looking at what model of tractor it is.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
What kind of attachments are on the back?
So what is there, like a Lambo of a tractor? Is there like a Ford Fiesta? Is there like a Porsche?
Like John Deere, for example, or like if it's diggers and that, it's going to be Caterpillars. So, and then as well as
how much would one of these tractors set you back? Just to like the London man,
bro, honestly, like, what are we talking about? To make an estimate, genuinely, I think the most high tech, so for example, for planting, like planting trees, which my cousin does, I think a tractor's going about 700 or 800 bags. I think for the high tech ones that you calibrate and they basically work on GPS. And you're just monitoring it.
700 to 800
I believe so. Someone, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity. Someone check and put in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's a good number. On. So check for us. But absolutely, yes. And even little things. There's a factory, a cashmere factory, Johnston's of Elgin. It's got the royal seal. They're approved to make clothes for the royal family. I believe it's like a 200-plus-year-old company.
Yeah.
Maybe long. It was started in the 18th century, 1700s. Yeah, so it's approaching 300 years. It's approaching 300 years.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like the late 18th century.
Yeah.
1790, around about then. Brother, clothes that I thought a man was wearing that. Bro, have you ever been into a farm shop and seen the clothes for sale? Bro, a shirt is like £120.
I know exactly what you mean, bro.
Scarf will be like £300.
Bro, you know what? You seen them on like Regent Street. You know, like right at the start of Regent Street. Not just like the suit guys, but there's a couple of them where they sell like the tweed stuff.
The tweed,
it's like,
you see tweed.
But it's just farmer
got the elbow patches.
Yeah, the elbow patches. Bro, like
serious.
Like we're looking at a man wearing. I'm not gonna disrespect the brands, I like them, but you know the Pradas, the Fendis, all of that.
Gucci's.
These men are wearing Johnston's of Elgin, and this
heritage right there.
I feel like I've heard of that.
They
That's
manufacture for
intergenerational
Burberry,
right
for
there.
Hermes. They manufacture things.
Amazing.
For them.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the money there is crazy, and obviously the main thing that I would like to talk about before we move on, is the malt whiskey capital. Oh my God, the tourism around there. One of my friends, shout him out, Blocks to Bags Pioneer. Would love to get him on an episode. You've met Nate. He's a legend. He's got a mobile cocktail business, to Cocktail Den, and he has a bar in Elgin. Google Badenochs, Badenochs. Press and Journal did a lovely article and review about it. Read that. Best spot in the Northeast for food and drink. Absolutely.
And Nate's story is quite an amazing story because it shows you that this is not just a one-off. Nate has also come from South. Funnily enough, he came from South.
Nate, of course.
South London.
Come on.
He ended up in the same town as Khalid. And now they're chopping business together.
Yeah. And he's doing the same model as well, right? He's basically, like, the mobile cocktail business is not like something he created, right? He seen it and saw the potential.
He's a perfect example of, like, I always say a quote to motivate my young people that come and work for me. And I say, there's absolutely nothing wrong with demanding payment for everything you do. And I encourage it, definitely. But if you always expect to be paid for what you do, you will never get paid for what you don't do. And that's a very important thing you need to understand and live your life by. And Nate is the best example of this.
I love that.
Bro, I've seen this guy work in very prestigious hotels, yeah? No one's a perfect employee. But brother, I've never seen him say no to a shift. I've never seen him say no to a late finish. They'll go to him at midnight. Can you do the overnight? Yes. He just says yes. Just smile and a yes and a hard work. Yeah. Bro, he ended up getting a business. I'll leave the story for him to tell. It's his story. I love the guy.
Yeah.
No, but that's a really important point.
No, but he's on route, and I said this. He's on route 7 figures.
Right.
Makes sense.
That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of levels that are kind of being set because
incredible stuff.
The market, once you come with a product and you're innovative, there's no compare. It's just wide open for the taking.
Bro, if you got the ideas, you can execute. But the thing is, even remember, like on a previous episode, we talked about David Beckham.
Yeah.
Right. This is literally like that, right? Like.
It's very innovative.
We talked about David Beckham not taking a 70% pay cut, right?
Yeah.
And one thing, like, I totally get why people say nowadays, like, we see it a lot, right? Within communities that we're part of that get paid for what you do and whatever, right? And I totally get it. But the point you make is so important too, right? Because at the end of the day, sometimes you can't think just short term about the capital right now. You've got to think about the lessons you learn too. Maybe the people you might meet, the inspiration, right? If you're in an environment where that's going to be conducive to picking up some new skills or some new lessons or some new opportunities, or, you know, you've done a big favor for someone that you're working with and that person sees you as a reliable person, someone who's going to come through, that trust in itself could be worth infinitely more than any money you might get in that instance, you know? So I think that's a really big lesson too. You've got to balance, like, the degree of, you know, knowing your worth.
Absolutely.
With also, like, not being super short-sighted. It's not like knowing your worth doesn't always mean you've got to get paid right now what you need, you know?
You don't know where the bag is coming from.
For real.
Say it louder for the people at the back.
You want to know where it's coming from. You don't know where it's coming from, bro.
For real.
You know what I mean? In my case, I kind of had an idea, you know, if I work hard, follow my dad, be patient, I'm going to be led to some success. Obviously, it's undeniable. Nate, for example, he's the perfect example of, again, you don't know who's watching you. Because a lot of the people he's in business with now, or that he's doing business with, or like, for example, it's not straightforward opening a bar and restaurant. You need suppliers, people for your alcohol, your wine, your
licenses.
How did he already have a connection with these people?
There you go.
When he's working in jobs, this is what I'm saying. Be nice to the guy delivering stock to your work. Don't see him as a separate entity because you don't know his backstory. You don't know what he could get you access to in the future. Be nice to the person who's dropping off the meat. Be nice to the person who's coming to drop off all the fixtures and fittings. Be nice to that customer that's in every week who doesn't talk much because you don't know what company he may own. You just have to apply these principles in life.
That's facts. That's literally because also sometimes a lot of our perception is wrong.
Absolutely.
Right? Like when we think about people that got the bag, right? All of the time, right? It's literally what we see.
Flashy rollies.
Exactly, the rollie, whatever.
Yeah. And that's the thing about London, right? That's the perception that you get growing up in London because wealth is so visible and in your face. You're thinking the man with the flashy rollie and pulling up with the whip, he's the wealthiest guy about. But really and truly, I believe that's richness. Wealth, a lot of the times, is quite invisible.
But a lot of wealth is made from the most boring stuff. Like, literally, bro, on a real, right? Like,
it's so true.
Bro, and like, even at the beginning, you know, you said, I do a take... Bro, the margins on takeaway businesses, will be way better than any restaurant. I'll give you that. I know the restaurant business. I've been in it, right? Bro, the restaurant business, the only margin you get is on alcohol.
Yeah, facts.
Pure, I was sure, right?
Yep.
People might look at a takeaway business and be like, oh, it doesn't look as nice as this.
Doesn't...
Bro, it makes the bag and it will make it 5x more than, you know, your takeaway shop. I don't know the numbers, but it probably does numbers that restaurants in London would dream of.
Without alluding too much to the numbers or anything, but like, in your opinion, how successful has your takeaway shop been? Especially in comparison to like restaurants. What's the pros and cons?
What's the statistic? Is it something like 7 in 10 restaurants fail in the first 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're in our 11th year going on 12th.
There you go.
That says all you need to say.
My uncle's on his 27th year, I believe.
That's mad.
And what? Look,
COVID as well. You lot made a lot of restaurants didn't make it through COVID.
You're employed in that business as well. Think about that.
Cousins,
like that. There you go.
And my little sister, man, she's going to. I used to bring her in on answer the phone, take orders, serve the customers, do this, do that.
Now she's becoming a lawyer to sue your ass.
You better be careful. You better be careful.
Child wages, right?
I bet she's been keeping receipts.
Nah, man, but absolutely. It's that word you said earlier, arbitrage, right? It's just. I live for it, man. Like, it's just goes back to that. It's just go and copy what people are doing and do it there and you're going to be fine.
I mean, talking about flashy, right? Think about the musicians, right? We see, right?
Yeah.
We think they're making the bag, right? But who makes the bag? The man them that got the royalties or the back catalogue.
The guys that are owning the...
You look at them and you think, who's this guy?
Yep.
Facts.
Bro, like, Nadi looking, homies, well.
Yep.
That guy in the bag.
Facts,
you know what I mean? Like,
facts.
You've got to be like, if you care about the bag, also think about it. Don't just think about perception and what looks cool and what looks nice.
What I would say though is there's a big positive to all of that I don't think gets discussed enough. And so where I do live, one of the negatives is a huge lack of motivation in young people.
Okay.
So, bro, there are people that like, if you talk to the wrong people where I live and say like, yeah, you know, I reckon if this concept do this, make a few million quid, do that. You get either seen as delusional or cocky or arrogant. And I don't hold ill will to people who think like that. I just think like we're very lucky that we get to grow up looking at people making millions. Bro, we all grew up like 5 minutes away from Tower Bridge.
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Remember, we're chilling in your block.
Exactly, on Tower Bridge Road. So like, seeing that wealth day in, day out, I think kind of, you never question if it's attainable because it literally is.
You can see it, yeah.
Whereas up there, a lot of the wealth is generational, hereditary, family, all of that. So there is still a lot of old money there, and can be challenging for people to move into those new avenues of making money because there's not a lot to be seen. But I definitely think, and I've seen myself in the last decade, a lot more people are opening their own businesses, and I love to see it.
So, but with you, right? You're wildly successful, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying you've reached your... No, but you need to give yourself props. You're doing well. you're in a really good place.
You've got agency of your life. You can go on holidays,
own a business, own property, own assets.
You can buy bear crepes when you come to London and this and
there
that.
You go. Always with the fresh
hair. To us in an Audi when none of us have whips and that. Just
always with the fresh hair as well.
That's not cheap, bro. That's not cheap. You ain't no £10 on that. That's not cheap, bro. That's not no £10 thing right there.
Boss man ain't gonna bust you on that.
You know what I'm saying?
But like people, there's a big thing people say, right? Like to grow, to be motivated, you need to surround yourself with the right type of people and whatnot, right? But in Scotland, where like you said, like that environment is not maybe like the way it is, right? How do you personally, like, how do you maintain your drive, and what are the things you do to make sure that you are continuing to hustle and actually continuing to try get the bag and not just like be
content with
and just feel like
it's easy enough to be like, yo, my shop is doing well.
I got a range. I've blown up.
Got a mug. Got a range. Got yards. Like
that is humble, bro.
Success. Yeah, like
man. To be honest with you, I stay grounded in key principles. On like, I say this proudly as well. Like, in my mind, I'm yet to do anything. Mm-hmm. I'm still building on the foundations of the hard work of my father. You know, which is what I think people should do.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I feel like once. I wouldn't say content. I don't think I'll ever be content, but I'll be as close to content as I can be when we've made meals, as we've been speaking about,
bills,
since we were children.
Yes, bills,
meals,
yes.
You know what I mean? The bills, exactly. That when I have total autonomy over my life, I have 99% of it, but I still got to ask, my pops, like, can you go and check on the shop while I'm away type thing, There are little things like that, but
end that little part out, but we'll end it with one more thing, yeah?
Yes.
What's your advice for the block? Mandem in London, based on your experiences, to try to get the bag?
There's more to life and more to the world than where you're from. And I know that sounds rinsed and repeated and overused, but trust me, London's not the be-all end-all of Southeast England, let alone the United Kingdom. Just put it like that. Like and it's not, the UK is tiny. I've lived away from London for over 10 years, and I still have all of my mates here. Can come back, and if nothing changes, just new buildings things. So get away from where you're from and diversify your way of thinking. Open your mind. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Go to that strange club night with music you don't listen to and see how it is and see who you meet. Go to watch some stand-up comedy show and see who you meet. Go, you know what I mean? Try food you might not. All of these little things will help break down the weird barriers you have in your mind that limit you from doing little things. And they say, if you work on, to put it like this, everyone has a big picture. Just draw it one little picture at a time.
Ooh, I love that. And on that note, we're going to end a very special episode with my boy Khalid, Micky, Blocks to Bags.
Here,
You've been locked in.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Love it.